That's terrible.
This 31-year-old Barrie, Ontario resident is suing her employer after they refused to give her paid maternity leave after she adopted a 6-week-old Bichon Frise puppy. I want my 40 weeks just like any mother, she says.
Oh, Jesus.
She didn't give birth to the puppy.
But
Nope.
if you adopt a child, you still can get
It's
some
not a
leave.
person. I'm going to go buy a fish and take 6 months off work.
Adopted
Fuck her.
food.
I don't expect her lawsuit will be successful, but I'm sure it will be successful for her lawyer who will take the fees for it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, her lawyer said, "You're a sucker. I'm going to take this
Exactly.
money."
So that's why
Yeah, I think you've got a
Just
real
getting it
shot
done.
there, ma'am.
I charge $400 an hour. I need to do a whole bunch of back research on
somebody
this
has
thing.
more money than she knows what to do with.
No kidding.
That's my theory.
I don't know. She must be really short on money if she's trying to pull a scam like that, you'd think.
Maybe.
Because that's a scam if I'd ever
Whatever
heard
her
of one.
financial state, she's short on brains. Like,
Sure.
good night, nurse.
Well, who's to say? Maybe she went to an underprivileged puppy country and rescued this dog from
Oh, yeah.
its terrible
yeah.
conditions in like
I heard about that.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe she deserves like, free money for having a fucking dog.
I'm waiting for the punchline.
No, there is none.
Or maybe she should just die in a fucking fire. Just put it out there.
Just saying.
This story was actually a satire for the CBC podcast, This Is That, and we fell for it.
It's an
Well,
option.
actually, the biggest problem with shit like that is that's a strain on our fucking government system. That's a strain on our law,
Exactly.
our legal system that we have to fucking pay for.
It's someone who just
Well, you
doesn't
don't
want
have
to
to
go
pay
to work
for
for
it
most of a year.
if it's not legal, and it
We
isn't.
still have to pay for the
There's
fucking
no-
judge and the courtroom and all that shit.
Yeah, it'll probably get dismissed.
I would hope so.
And
But usually
I'm
there's
sure they get
court
frivolous
fees.
lawsuits all the time.
Well, there's
This one was
court
just
fees, but it's still
This one was more inventive than most.
It used to
There's
not-
still a lineup
it used
for
to not
using
be
the
as
court.
bad
That's
in
true.
Canada as it is in the States,
Yeah.
but it's getting that way. I blame television.
Because
If you can make a lawsuit for like burning yourself with your coffee, can you make a lawsuit for like getting drunk off of alcohol?
Well, actually, I watched an
Just
actual.
because somebody hasn't tried it yet doesn't
it doesn't mean it
Mike,
won't work.
it won't
Mike,
work.
I actually watched a documentary on that old lady that burnt herself. She actually got first and second degree burns over like 20% of her body from that coffee.
How big was her coffee?
It wasn't very big, but the coffee machine
Was
was
she like 4 inches
malfunctioning,
tall?
and that water was above boiling temperature.
'Cause if you can pressurize water and have
Yeah.
it above boiling,
It was ridiculously hot. It actually melted the skin off of her legs.
It's something
and thighs.
that you can do in a microwave, actually.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. It's not like coffee where it's just hot. It was over 100 degrees Celsius or whatever.
It was cooking her legs.
Yeah.
I don't remember the word for that.
And she
I
was like
should know the word.
Poaching. It was
No,
poaching.
There's
Legs
a
were being poached.
there's a word for bringing something above its boiling point, and it's still.
Superheating.
Is it
I
just
think it's
superheating?
superheating, yeah.
Okay.
Just that's what you do in a microwave. You superheat the water.
Yeah.
And it sits there all nice and still until you disturb it, and then it fucking explodes. It's crazy.
As long as it's
Super,
in a
thanks for
container
heating.
that doesn't have also it doesn't have any imperfections or anything.
I think
Because-
so.
That's
Yeah.
Has
super
to be
cooling
per-
too. That's the
distilled
exact same
water,
thing.
basically.
You know, like cup shape.
I thought there was like a technical term for that, but
No, it's just
maybe it's
superheating.
just superheating.
But there might be something I'm not aware of, but superheating refers to that. Unless
So
I'm just
yeah.
making
In
all
some
that
cases
up in
like
my head.
that, like the lawsuit was
No,
founded.
that sounds familiar.
She was hospitalized for like months too. Like it was legit.
It was for serious, and she deserves.
It was for serious.
Something. It's not like it wasn't one of those ones where somebody's like, "Oh, I tripped and fell in front of your store. Now I need
Well,
$500,000."
like that grandmother who said that her daughter, who had been mauled by dogs, like a couple of weeks previous, said she went into a KFC and alleged that the employees told her to get the hell out of there because her granddaughter's face or visage was disturbing.
Oh,
customers.
because a dog had bit her. the
Right, and
granddaughter.
they took
Yeah.
up a bunch of donations for her, and KFC actually donated $30,000. But after all this, they decided, well, we're going to investigate this. So they went through their fucking security camera footage at the store that they said
And
they
she'd
went
never
to.
been in there.
They weren't in there. And just for the hell of it, they pulled the fucking tapes for all the KFCs in the area, and what do you know? They hadn't been in any of those either.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out it's all bullshit.
Well, there was a guy in the States, you know, with the Ford Escape, how it has that sensor, so if you kick underneath the back bumper, the auto hatch will open?
No.
The Ford Escape can do that. So you just wave your foot. So you do the hokey pokey with your
Okay.
leg under the foot, and the hatch will open. This guy slipped
Before or after you turn yourself around?
before.
Don't you know
Is
the
that what it's all
song?
about?
This guy waved his foot and slipped and fell and supposedly broke his leg and sued Ford because he couldn't stand up straight. I don't think he won though.
But he did try to sue, eh?
Because he didn't want to use his keys.
Well, we were talking about coffee. Did anybody check out this Get Better Wellness article about the Keurig and why we should throw them in
I
the garbage?
did read it
Yes.
because I'm a little loath to admit
That's
that I've become
very
a bit of a
one-sided.
Keurig addict.
It does make sense to a certain extent.
It's very
But
one-sided.
that's
Yeah, it
true
really
of
is.
any coffee maker pretty much. Like people don't clean their coffee mugs or any kind of coffee makers often enough usually. So yes, they harbor germs. So like but it's not just a Keurig. So you can say the same thing about pretty much any
We have an
coffee
espresso machine and a coffee maker at home, and we clean them both monthly.
The difference with the Keurig is that
You
it has
can't.
an internal reservoir for the water that is not removable and not accessible. So you can't clean it. You actually can't.
Well, you could
the
pour
only way to
vinegar
clean
through
it
it and shake
is
it.
to run vinegar, or it has its own cleaning solution through the thing. And it also doesn't boil water for long enough at a high enough temperature to actually kill any microscopic shit that might be in there.
Yeah,
right?
192 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the FAQ on Keurig.com.
Yeah, so I mean, there's issues there. If you clean it, you'll be fine. I think it's a crazy scare. If anything were to convince me to get rid of my Keurig, it would be all the fucking waste that we produce.
All the waste plastic and
I
everything.
would
The
really like
packaging.
them to come up with some biodegradable packaging for
Yes.
Well, isn't there a
Everything's
separate
biodegradable.
filter you can get that you fill your own little cake up?
Yeah, it's my
You
cup
can,
or whatever.
yeah.
But then you're
My
just
cup.
drinking coffee, not cool, sexy, flavored coffee.
those. And it's not
No, there is
sealed.
cool, sexy flavor coffee brand coffee you can buy for it.
Bullshit. Yeah, I know.
But it's
not
not
as
the
convenient.
fresh sealed thing, and that's
Yeah.
what they're going for is that every cup is that fresh.
Yeah,
But the thing is,
Jesus Christ.
having the beans right beside your coffee maker and having a little mini grinder attached to it, it takes 2 seconds to grind beans. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter
But
how long
am
they've
I
been
supposed to
fucking
make my
dried out.
kids do that for me? They can do Keurig,
Maybe you
but
should go
they're not
adopt.
going to grind the beans.
Maybe you should take some
knew
time
how-
off, adopt a dog, and train it.
I knew how to
I
make
already
coffee
bought
for my
2
mom.
dogs.
Take some maternity to leave.
Oh, they can make regular
bought
coffee
2 dogs?
in the coffee
That's
maker, but
slavery
they're not
then.
going to grind it for me.
Because if you can get mat leave for fucking adopting a dog, if you buy a dog, you're a fucking
And besides,
slave
if I
owner.
make a whole pot,
Yeah, but it's just food.
nobody's going
It
to.
is.
No, nobody's.
So I'm trying to justify my silly Keurig habit, which I beat myself up about regularly.
I'm addicted to the Keurig as well. So.
Yeah, I like.
We
it.
have
I
an
spent
at
about-
work
I
that
despise
hasn't
it.
been cleaned in probably over a year and a half.
Oh no.
Yeah, I need to clean mine.
I don't
need
like
At
to
the
Keurig.
have
very
to
least,
sit
needs
from
a
the vinegar.
descaling. At the very least.
I'd rather go to Starbucks and have my Starbucks slave make me fresh coffee.
Your minimum wage.
I would
Starbucks slave.
I would rather not leave the house. I live in Canada where half the time leaving the house sucks. A lot.
for
Oh,
half
come on.
the
It's
year.
more like 3/4.
That's true.
Yeah.
2 weeks of summer.
doesn't
Fucking the
quite
rest of the year
suck
is
as much.
suck.
You know what? You've lived here for 30-some years.
30 something, yes.
You're probably acclimatized by now.
No,
It's still pretty goddamn cold.
I still prefer winter over
too
summer.
cold to go out for
Always have.
coffee. I don't understand all these people that are lining up for coffee every morning at Tim Hortons. Like, I'm not getting out of pajamas until I've had my coffee. I'm not going anywhere until I've had my coffee. So going out to get my coffee is nonsense.
Because your habit's different than their habit.
That explains
know.
road rage quite a bit, though, in the city.
Yeah, no shit.
I would have a coffee.
Like we have people at work that they wait until they show up to work before they go to the store and buy breakfast and coffee.
There was a study released. They finally finished the study. Since like 2008, I think, they've been doing a study in St. Louis, which I drove through. It's a shithole. Where they were taking the like rather poor, rather black neighborhoods and offering free contraceptives to all the young ladies, pretty much.
All the single ladies?
All the single ladies. And probably some that weren't single. And offering them free contraception, as well as giving them all the advice on all of the available options. And they were finding that, I think it was upwards of, it might have been like 80% of them were choosing IUDs. And the rest of them were getting, a variety of other things. But the vast majority were getting IUDs when there was no big upfront cost. And they had a drop in unintended teen pregnancies of 79%.
So there's no upfront cost, you said? So the first one's
Well,
free?
that's the...
Yes.
Well, they need to be replaced every 5 years, but they're not a hormonal...
I know, it's like the T-bar
Well,
thing.
there's a bit of hormonal to the little plastic ones. They're like a something like that.
I thought they were made of
There's
like
copper ones, and there's some other plastic ones that might have some copper in them somewhere.
Oh.
But there is, some of them do have a hormonal component, but it's not a lot.
Right.
But it's also like a physical thing, which of course some people consider to be abortifacient, like Hobby Lobby. That is one of the
like taking the day after pill instead of...
Yeah, because
Okay.
in theory it could possibly prevent a fertilized egg from implanting.
Mm-hmm.
So the
So does
Hobby
swallowing.
Lobby case,
Which is something that naturally happens how often anyway?
a lot.
Swallowing lots.
Yeah. So let's just blame God for that
Exactly.
to begin with.
Well,
So-
Jesus swallows. You see a statue?
So this contraception that would, and it was reducing the abortion rate by 77%. This contraception that they're opposing that would reduce abortion rates by 77%. It's insane that they're taking that position, that they think a fertilized egg is the same amount of preventing a fertilized eggs from being implanted is the same amount of harm as a late term abortion by a 14-year-old that never should have been having sex anyway. It's a ridiculous
Well, of course it is. So the Hobby Lobby,
combination of things.
I wonder if the owner thinks the same thing about him taking the blue pill. He should be allowed to do that because God decided he can't have more kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hobby Lobby has lots of popsicle sticks. You could tape it too.
When it comes to a bunch of old men discussing their own rights over their own bodies, that's completely different than when they discuss whether women should have rights over theirs.
Well, and that bleeds into the main point I wanted to make tonight is governing systems are so ridiculous and stupid the way they work. It should be the same with things like your rights for your body. A panel of men shouldn't be allowed to decide what women are allowed to do.
Obviously. I should have put it like a sarcasm thing after
Oh, I know,
what
I know.
said.
Sark.
If Mike says something, it's sarcastic usually.
Yeah.
Unless he's being himself.
Well, unless he's being genuine.
Yeah.
You tell which.
If you took sarcasm away from me, my only means of communication would be interpretive dance.
And no one wants to see that.
It's easy to tell if Mike's not being sarcastic because he'll start talking and we'll just go, and we wait for the lecture. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Anyways, so but like the people that actually would oppose that and say, "Oh, we can't tell all these, these teenagers actually what their options are. We need to withhold this information from them because if we tell them about all this stuff, they might have sex." Well, it's obviously being, that plan is definitely not working. But the plan that they're putting into place, they've put into place since the ACA. came out in about 2008, but it wasn't implemented for quite a few years. I'm hoping that we'll start seeing some trends, very strong trends in that direction, because the IUD